Amidst the final resting places, where the dead lay in eternal rest, resided a group of 8 people within the precincts of a cemetery, engaging in the caretaking of graves to sustain their livelihood. Ne Lin U, Ne Tun U, and several of their Burmese companions were living in a graveyard in the center of Choa Chu Kang Cemetery. They were paid by the relatives of the deceased to maintain and clean the graves of their loved ones. What the people who paid them didn't know was that the grave cleaners were overstayers in Singapore. Ne Lin U was a welder who absconded from his job in Singapore after 3 months. Ne Tun U did not complete his workers' pass formalities and absconded as well. Chan Mon, Thein Zaw, and Win Shane came to Singapore via a visit pass. And finally, Ye Lang O, Ah Lon, and Ang Mang came into Singapore illegally. They received information about the grave cleaning job through word of mouth from other Burmese overstayers and would receive $30 to $50 on an ad hoc basis from the family members of the deceased. While these overstayers were working and staying at the cemetery, the Immigrations and Checkpoints Authority received an anonymous tip-off that some people were staying at Choa Chu Kang Cemetery. To determine the accuracy of this information, ICA conducted some field investigations to see if the information was true.
We went down to the site to conduct observation on a few occasions. One is to study the terrain. Secondly is to gauge an approximate and the number of persons or offenders who might be staying there and working there illegally. And thirdly, we tried to pinpoint roughly where these offenders were likely to take shelter at. We went down. We were separated into groups. Then we would try to walk around with a view to try to spot the telltale signs. What the telltale signs here, I meant that any of the so-called makeshift tents or any of the so-called huts that these offenders put up for their shelter.
After ICA had conducted their investigations, they decided to bring these overstayers into custody. Given the vast size of the terrain, ICA assessed that it was necessary to join forces with the Singapore Police Force and the Gurkha contingent in order to bring the overstayers to justice.
The field investigation took 3 weeks from the time we received the information. Then from what we observed, we presented them to our supervisors for discussion. We proceeded to plan for the operation by planning on the manpower deployment and also the logistics needed on the day of the operation. We also take a necessary step to ensure the safety of everyone, especially our own officers, and also the persons that we are going to check.
Under the cover of darkness and in the wee hours of the morning, ICA officers positioned themselves around the cemetery, securing potential exit points.
When all the offenders are in deep sleep, we move in tactically and manage to apprehend them successfully. We faced minimal resistance. Personally, because I thought we successfully used the elements of surprise and with the cover of darkness at our advantage.
By sunrise, ICA had managed to capture the 8 overstayers and brought them back to the ICA headquarters for questioning. The operation was a success. The overstayers captured at the cemetery were found to be immigration offenders and were charged with their offences under Section 15 and Section 6 of the Immigration Act. They were sentenced to imprisonment ranging from 6 to 23 weeks and received 3 to 4 strokes of the cane. Following this operation, ICA conducted several separate operations together with other law enforcement agencies within the cemeteries to weed out any other immigration offenders. Furthermore, only registered contractors were permitted to do exhumation and other similar work in cemeteries.
ICA is the first line of defense for Singapore's border security. ICA ensures that anyone or anything, any consignment that enters her borders is legal and properly documented. By arresting these overstayers, it maintains the integrity of our immigration laws. It also upholds our legal system and at the same time ensure fairness to those who adheres or follows our immigration laws, and also contributes to national security by tracking individuals who are already within our borders.